Josh?
Yeah.
You're on the air.
I'm here. Yeah, I mean, you guys, I'm not saying your show so much. Your show is actually one of the better shows on the left, I think. But as soon as somebody on the right gets on the show, they just tear them apart. They don't let them talk, and...
Well, David and I have had numerous and long conversations over the years. I mean, if you Google both our names on YouTube, you'll find probably a half a dozen or more times that David has been on this program in the 15 years I've been on the air, and we've had reasonable conversations, and we interrupt each other. And I was just astonished that he went off like that this morning. I was completely not expecting it. But, when somebody says that, the founders wanted America to be a Christian country, I have to challenge that. It's not true.
Well, I mean, if you look back into history, it kind of looks that way, actually.
Twice in the Constitution. In the Constitution, Josh, twice it says once there should be no religious test for office, and once that freedom of religion, including freedom from religion, shall be absolute. I mean, you've got the Establishment Clause and you've got the First Amendment to the Constitution.
Everywhere you look in America, even on our money, statues, it talks about God, or everywhere.
Well, that was in 1956. In God We Trust was put on our coins by Dwight Eisenhower in response to pressure from the John Birch Society to defy the godless communists in the Soviet Union. You're right. In God We Trust is on our money. But the founders never put it on our money. They put a goddess on our money. They invented a goddess. I mean, that's as pagan as you can get. The founder, Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, and there was another one, maybe it was George Mason. There were three of them. They got together and they said, America has... because they were modeling the American Republic on the Greek democracy and the Roman Republic, right? And they said, the Greeks had gods and goddesses, the Romans had gods and goddesses. We have gods, male gods, right? The religion, the Christian and Jewish gods, but we have no goddesses. So let's invent a goddess for the United States. And they literally invented a goddess out of whole cloth. They named her after the guy who discovered the continent, Columbus. And they put her on the top of the Capitol building. They said that no building in Washington, D.C. could be taller than her head. Her name is Columbia. Columbia Rising, they put her on our currency. She has been on the Columbia walking silver dollar was minted right up until the 1980s. Reagan was the one who took the goddess off our currency. 200 years of that, Josh. She's in front of the the Department of Justice. John Ashcroft covered up her naked breast, remember, famously. She's out there with a blindfold and the scales. She's in front of the Defense Department, in one hand holding a shield, and another hand holding a quiver or a bundle of arrows. She's in front of the Agriculture Department with scythe, to harvest wheat. Every department uses the goddess. She's on our flags. They named the center of government for the United States after the goddess. They said and this district is going to be dedicated to Columbia, the goddess, the District of Columbia. And like I said, no building can be taller than her head, and no person who lives in the district can engage in partisan activity like voting. That's why the District of Columbia doesn't have representation in Congress. Talk about pagan religions. Back to you, Josh.
I hear all that. I just wish the two parties would get along better. I mean...
Oh, yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
The Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats, why can't they go back to the Clinton-era Democrats? They're a lot more reasonable. I mean, Ocasio-Cortez, her Green Deal didn't get very many votes. It's because it's completely crazy. I mean... If you don't like red meat, don't eat it. If you don't want to fly in an airplane, don't fly in one. But we can't ban the airplanes. And everybody, I agree, we should try and slowly get away from fossil fuels, but we don't have that technology yet today.
Josh, there's nothing in the Green New Deal that bans airplanes. There's nothing in the Green New Deal that bans meat. I mean, these are complete exaggerations that have come out of the right.
I've heard her say it even on CNN.
No, what she has pointed out, and it's true, is that about 15% of global emissions are the result of factory farming, the way that we produce meat, and the enormous amount of vegetable matter that we produce that goes to feeding cattle, which then cause type 2 diabetes and heart disease. I mean,
well, you should back down on the red meat. I agree. I try to eat less myself, to tell you the truth. Eat more fish and chicken and pork. But
sure, and vegetables.
I mean, and vegetables, yeah. I mean, it's great. But, I mean, the parties are just like, they're never going to meet in the middle, because you got the Republicans over there, then you got the Democrats. They're not. If they just, I don't know. They're never going to.
I think what's keeping the meet in the middle from happening, Josh, is that you've got a couple of billionaires who made their money on fossil fuels, and they've been joined by other billionaires who've made their money in fossil fuels, other dirty industries, chemical and things like that, and other people who are just looking, other billionaires who just want tax cuts and things. And these guys have so terrified the Republicans, who they own, basically, that those Republicans are unwilling to do reasonable things. Right now, in most of the United States, it is cheaper to produce electricity with solar or wind than with any other method in most of the United States. And instead, like down in Florida, Rick Scott, when he was governor, oversaw legislation that would make it extremely expensive and extremely difficult for you to put solar panels on your house and hook it up to the grid. Why is that?
Solar panels are a great idea, but they are expensive. Maybe not as expensive as he made it.
It's less than 7 cents a kilowatt hour right now. I am paying more than 7 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity that's created by the Bonneville Dam.
That's great, but don't make it law so everybody has to buy it. If you can afford it and you want it, I think
the Green New Deal is not about making that a law. The Green New Deal is about offering subsidies. We're subsidizing the fossil fuel industry to the tune of $300 billion a year right now, Josh. If we offered subsidies to people to buy electric cars or put solar panels on their roofs, we would not spend one extra penny if we took that money away from the fossil fuel industry. And we would not spend one extra penny, and suddenly we would stop having 10 to 30,000 cancers a year from people just inhaling gas fumes as they're driving down the road. We know that that's there. We would stop damaging our environment.
Major problem.
We could slow down the rate of global warming, which means that you wouldn't see such severe flooding and such severe winters in the Midwest. You wouldn't see the horrible hurricanes hitting the South. I mean, we've got to get a handle on this, Josh. I mean, where would you begin?
Well, the world goes in cycles, first of all. I mean, I do all
Are you talking about weather?
That you don't like. I mean, it does. I do all the jobs that you guys don't like. I mean, I used to crab fish in the Bering Sea, and I work in Prudhoe Bay, and right now I'm in North Dakota. I work in the oil field industry because I make money on it.
Sure, and you're entitled to do that, and I get that.
And I don't agree with everything the oil field does. I mean, to say that the stuff's not in the water table is a lie. I know it is in North Dakota. And anywhere there's oil drilling. I mean, look at the earthquakes down in Oklahoma.
Sure.
But they're just regulate the shit out of it. We need fossil fuels, but we got to do it right. And these oil companies do cut corners and stuff. But I think the world goes in cycles, and there's just so many people in the world. We can't be the world's policeman either. I don't agree with a fence or a wall, but we can't have just millions of people flood into America. We just can't do that. I mean,
nobody's recommending that. And this is another problem, Josh, is you got these guys on the right who are saying that Democrats want open borders. There's not a single Democrat who wants an open border. Not one.
We can't have that. Have a wall with doors, and you can come.
No, it's not about a wall or not a wall. It's about incentives. It's Reagan stopped sending rich white employers to jail for hiring people who are not U.S. citizens. Reagan stopped that. And all of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of people who aren't U.S. citizens saying, oh, really? I can work and there's no consequence? I'll go there. I mean, I would do that if Norway said that, or, or whatever. I mean, it's about incentives. We don't have a wall with Canada. I mean,